The sun was dipping low over the highway, casting long shadows across the asphalt as a group of bikers roared past, their engines echoing like thunder. At the roadside, a teenage girl stood with her small motorcycle jacket, nervously adjusting the sleeves. It wasn't flashy, and she knew it. In fact, it looked a little plain next to the leather-clad bikers who stopped beside her, their laughter loud and teasing. "Nice jacket, kid," one of them snickered, glancing at her with a mix of amusement and disbelief. The girl kept her gaze steady, but inside, her heart was racing. She had seen this reaction before, the dismissive chuckle from people who underestimated her, but today, she wasn't just any teenager. There was something sewn onto the back of her jacket, a patch she had earned, a symbol of respect, courage, and a story most would never guess. As the bikers leaned closer, curiosity replacing their laughter, the tension in the air thickened. The jacket, which had seemed so ordinary at first glance, held a message that would make them rethink everything they assumed about her. For a moment, silence replaced the roar of engines, and eyes widened in recognition. What was this patch? And why did it have the power to change the mood of even the toughest bikers? The girl didn't flinch as the moment stretched, knowing this small emblem carried more weight than anyone could imagine. But how would they react once they truly understood what it represented? The answer was about to change everything, but not before leaving the bikers and everyone watching on the edge of their seats. The patch wasn't something you could earn at a local club or buy at a store. It was earned through grit, courage, and a story that few people could imagine. The girl, barely 16, had spent countless hours on the road, learning not just to ride, but to face danger head-on. She had trained herself to stay calm under pressure, to think fast when situations turned risky, and to push through when others would have given up. That little patch on her jacket symbolized all of that. Recognition from a group of riders who didn't hand out respect lightly. The bikers around her, all seasoned riders with leather jackets and tough attitudes, had laughed without realizing they were standing face to face with someone who had more experience on the open road than many of them could claim. The engines rumbled quietly now, a soft growl compared to the sudden silence that had fallen. Some of them squinted, trying to place the symbol, the design, the meaning behind it. Their laughter had disappeared, replaced by curiosity and a hint of unease. She had seen this before. The moment when people realized they had misjudged her, the shift from underestimation to cautious respect. But she wasn't here to impress anyone. She was here to finish what she had started. And the road ahead wasn't going to wait for approval. The bikers exchanged glances, their postures stiffening as if they sensed something bigger was coming. The girl's eyes flicked to the horizon, a quiet determination in her gaze. Whatever was about to happen next would test everyone's limits, and no one could predict the outcome. The silence between them stretched, heavy with unspoken questions. The bikers, once laughing and joking, now seemed uncertain, sizing up the teenage girl as if she were a puzzle they couldn't figure out. One of the older riders, a man with a weathered face and a jacket covered in decades of patches, leaned closer, his voice low and cautious. "Where'd you get that?" he asked, pointing to the patch that had stolen the spotlight from his own crew's bravado. The girl shrugged, keeping her tone even but carrying an edge of quiet confidence. "Earned it," she said simply, letting the words hang in the air. That answer only seemed to deepen the curiosity, the tension rippling through the small group. Another biker, younger, with a sneer still hiding behind his nervous glance, muttered, "You sure you're old enough to even be out here?" Her eyes met his without hesitation, and for a moment, the wind itself seemed to pause. She knew they didn't see her yet, they only saw a kid in a jacket. But the patch told a different story, a story of long nights on the road, challenges faced alone, and moments that could have broken someone far older and tougher. Meanwhile, on the side of the road, a few other drivers had stopped to watch, sensing the brewing tension. Their whispers mingled with the faint roar of engines, creating a pulse of anticipation that was almost tangible. The girl could feel the weight of their attention, the eyes of strangers and bikers alike, sizing up the stakes. As the sun dipped lower, casting shadows across the asphalt, the real challenge was about to begin. The bikers were no longer just skeptics, they were witnesses to something they didn't fully understand. And the girl, with her unassuming jacket and unforgettable patch, was ready to prove that appearances could be deceiving. But would they accept it or push back, testing her in ways she hadn't even anticipated? The air seemed to thicken as the bikers formed a loose circle around her, their engines idling like restless beasts. Each one shifted slightly, their body language betraying a mix of curiosity, respect, and a hint of challenge. The girl stood her ground, hands resting lightly on the handlebars of her small bike, every sense on high alert. She could feel their eyes on the patch, tracing the emblem's lines as if trying to read a secret code. One of the older bikers, the one with decades of rides etched into his face, stepped closer, his voice low, but carrying authority. "You don't get that patch just by showing up," he said, eyes narrowing. "Not unless you've been through something real." The other bikers murmured in agreement, some leaning forward, some stepping back, uncertain whether to challenge her or show respect. The girl's heart pounded, but her expression remained steady. She had faced tougher roads, harsher nights, and lonelier miles than any of them could imagine. Yet this moment standing against a pack of seasoned bikers who had underestimated her felt like a test unlike any other. The tension crackled, almost visible, like static in the air. From the corner of her eye, she noticed a younger biker fiddling with the strap of his helmet, clearly trying to muster courage to speak. Another tightened his fists, the playful bravado of earlier completely gone, replaced by an unspoken question. Could she actually back up what the patch represented? The sun was nearly gone, painting the asphalt in deep orange and red, the perfect backdrop for what was about to unfold. Every eye was locked on her, every pulse synchronized with the rising anticipation. The stage was set, the challenge implicit, and in that charged silence, everyone knew the moment of reckoning was imminent, but no one, not even the girl, could predict exactly how it would explode. Just as the tension reached its peak, a loud rumble echoed down the road, different from the bikers' engines, heavier and faster. Everyone turned, instincts kicking in, and a convoy of massive motorcycles appeared, cutting through the fading light like a storm. The girl's eyes narrowed. These weren't casual riders, they carried the same kind of patches she recognized. Symbols of an elite group known for testing even the toughest bikers. The older biker's jaw tightened, and the younger ones shuffled nervously. That's the Black Vipers, someone muttered under his breath, his bravado finally cracking. The girl's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. The new group stopped a few feet away, forming a second ring of authority that made the first group look small and uncertain. Suddenly, what had seemed like a confrontation was now a much larger test. One of the Vipers, a tall figure with a helmet that hid most of his face, leaned forward, pointing directly at her patch. That emblem? You're claiming something you might not be ready for, he said, voice smooth but sharp, carrying weight in history. Whispers spread among the bikers. The challenge had just doubled. The girl's pulse quickened, but her gaze stayed steady. She knew what the patch meant, the risks she had faced to earn it, but now the stakes were higher than ever. Not only did she'll have to prove herself to the first group of bikers, but she now had a second, even more formidable audience, scrutinizing her every move. The wind stirred the last rays of sunlight across the asphalt, and in that charged moment, everyone realized the road ahead wasn't just about skill, it was about courage, reputation, and survival. The climax was approaching, and the girl's next move would change everything. The girl took a deep breath, the engines of both biker groups rumbling like distant thunder around her. Every eye was locked on the patch, every heartbeat sinking with the tension in the air. Then, without a word, she kicked her bike into gear, and revved the engine, the roar cutting through the charged silence. She wasn't just showing them she belonged, she was challenging them on her terms. The older bikers exchanged glances, a mix of respect and disbelief crossing their faces. The Black Vipers remained motionless for a moment, sizing her up, then nodded subtly, recognizing the courage it took to stand there so unflinchingly. Slowly, one of the Vipers stepped forward, removing his helmet, revealing a familiar face from her past, her mentor, the one who had secretly trained her to earn that very patch. "You've earned this," he said, his voice carrying pride and warning at the same time. The first group of bikers, who had laughed at her jacket hours ago, now stood back, silent, realizing their mistake. The patch wasn't just fabric, it was proof of skill, resilience, and an unshakable spirit. As the tension broke, a ripple of respect spread through both groups. The girl smiled faintly, feeling the validation she had earned, yet sensing the road ahead held more challenges. Just as relief began to settle, the sound of sirens pierced the night air. Red and blue lights flashed in the distance, a new and unexpected force approaching fast. The bikers exchanged worried glances, the calm from moments ago evaporating instantly. The girl's heart raced again just when she thought the test was over. A new challenge appeared on the horizon, one that none of them could have predicted, and in that instant, everyone realized the night was far from over. The flashing lights drew closer, but the girl didn't panic. She knew that whatever challenge lay ahead, she had earned the right to face it. The bikers, both her original skeptics, and the Black Vipers, started their engines, forming a protective line behind her. There was a silent understanding now. She wasn't just a teenage girl on a small bike, she was a rider who had proven herself. Someone whose courage and skill demanded respect. As the police car slowed and pulled up beside them, the tension remained, but it was tempered by admiration. The officers stepped out, prepared for confrontation, but instead found a group of bikers standing calmly, united in a quiet, unspoken alliance. The girl's patch caught the last rays of the setting sun, shimmering like a badge of honor, and even the officers seemed to pause, sensing the story behind it. One of the original bikers approached her, a smile breaking through the earlier skepticism. "Guess we misjudged you," he admitted, offering a hand. She shook it firmly, knowing the moment carried more than respect, it carried lessons about perception, courage, and the power of standing your ground. The Black Vipers nodded once, then roared off into the distance, leaving the girl and the first group of bikers to share a quiet moment under the twilight sky. She looked down at her jacket, at the patch that had changed everything. and felt a sense of pride she had never experienced before. In the end, the laughter and doubt had been replaced with respect and understanding. And as she revved her bike and rode into the fading light, she knew this was just the beginning of her story, but she had already proven that courage and determination could speak louder than appearances ever could.